Hello, everyone. I'd like to go over the midterm exam. As you'll see, if you looked at your exam, all you got is a score. You don't have any feedback. So what I would like to do is to go through each question, tell you the kind of answer that I was looking for, um, give you a sense of that, and what I had in mind when I wrote the question, to give you a standard by which to judge. If you have any questions whatsoever about your exam, please do contact me. We can go over it together if this video doesn't clarify things for you. If you have any issue at all about the exam, and it's certainly possible that I made a mistake in my grading, that happens. So if you see a discrepancy of any sort, do not hesitate to contact me. Just email me or call me, and we'll take a look at it. Question number one, describe the sense of professional that we are focusing on in this class and distinguish it from other senses of the word. The word there is professional, not profession, professional. And really, the only thing I was looking for were two things. One, that the sense of professional that we're focusing on in this class is professional insofar as you are a member of a profession. That is, that notion of a professional as somebody who is a member of a profession, let's say a recognized profession. Other senses of the word professional are somebody who does something for money, or somebody who does something for a living, like a professional athlete, or somebody who conducts themselves in a way that has high standards. She or he is very professional in their manner. Those are the other senses of the word that I wanted to, the things that I discussed in the beginning of class and have discussed here and there along the way. So the main thing here is that we're talking about the sense of professional as in member of a profession. We're not talking about it in the other common use of the word, somebody who does something for a living or somebody who conducts themselves with high standards. Question two, explain how Sighart's relation-based general theory of ethics determines his more particular theory of professional ethics. So what you need to do to answer this question is to go back to the early parts of Sighart's essay, where before he actually gives you his theory of professional ethics, he gives you his general theory of ethics, which is essentially that ethics only begins when you have two entities, basically two human beings having to deal with each other. That is, ethics begins with relationships between human beings. And moreover, that the relationships between human beings become ethical when the human beings involved, or the individuals involved, have to decide between selfishness and altruism. That is, there has to be a situation in which not everybody can get what they want, so the individuals have to decide whether they're going to be selfish or cooperate and act altruistically. That's the general theory of ethics that determines the particular theory of professional ethics, and that is that essentially professional ethics is rooted in a relationship. That is, it just as the general ethics has to do with relationships, professional ethics is a particular sort of relationship, the professional-client relationship, and that the professional needs to maintain an altruistic attitude because of the gross inequality of power, and never take advantage of the weakness of the client or patient. Question three, describe Downey's criticism of Sighart's idea of the noble cause. Basically, Downey's criticism of the noble cause idea is too vague and too general to really be of any use, because almost any occupation could plausibly claim to have a noble cause. The noble cause of the manufacturer of underwear could be our comfort. The noble cause of the travel agent could be discovery of the world, whatever. And that this would mean that it could apply so generally that there would be nothing particularly definitive for the recognized professions of law, medicine, whatever else. So it's just too general a characteristic to be anything definitive professions. Question four, explain why Davis's idea of profession is essentially a moral one. Well, I think here you just have to sort of there are a couple things that were relevant, and I think I looked for an answer. The main was just this definition of a profession as what is a group of a group that has a moral ideal, which it's following out in a morally permissible way. That is, as somebody pointed out in their answer, it's not just essentially moral; it's by definition moral because something a group that is carrying out some sort of common task without a moral ideal, serving a moral ideal, would not qualify as a profession, nor if they were following out this moral ideal in an unacceptable way. That is a morally unacceptable way. So the idea of morality is baked into the very definition of profession from Davis. The other ideas, that it gives you is that there couldn't be, conceptually, there just couldn't be a profession of torturers because it's not just skill or education or being good at something that makes a profession. It has to be conducted in a morally acceptable way. And, as he said, serve a moral ideal. Question 5, briefly describe Spindon's assessment of the industrial example. Well, first of all, it's bad. First of all, he thinks it's a disaster that the industrial exemption is so widespread, because basically it means that the vast majority of engineers do not have a license or not licensed. This answer could go in different directions, like why that's a bad thing, which is basically saying why licensing would be a good thing. But essentially, I think there are two major points. One is that the industrial exemption makes an artificial distinction between primary and ancillary engineering. The idea that when somebody works for a large business, an industry or industrial concern, that they don't they don't do direct engineering, meaning they don't have contact with the public. They're kind of like mediated by their employer. So that what they're doing is not supposedly, I guess, affecting the public, but Spindon says that's ridiculous. What engineers do working for large corporations obviously affects the public. And putting the responsibility for their competence on their employer is like closing the barn door after the cow gets out. That is, it just means that there are deep pockets to pay for the damage that engineers might do, when what would be better is what he calls the looming omnipresence. The idea that if somebody has got a license that can be taken away, that license is the looming omnipresence, like the cloud above the engineer's head, reminding them that they have to put public safety first and they have to maintain standards. So that's what I had in mind for these questions. I have to use my judgment in terms of grading them. If I think that somebody is going towards a correct answer, but there's either something missing or there's something misleading, because oftentimes you'll get an answer in which part of it is good and part of it is not good. And the part that's not good can be positively misleading and incorrect. And the degree to which you take that into account is a matter of judgment. I gave a lot of half credit for answers that I thought had some virtues, but that there was something either missing or incorrect in them that made me only give it half credit. If you got no credit, it's because I thought that the defects of the answer were just too great to give it credit. But again, I would like to once again encourage everyone who has any questions about their exam to contact me, and feel free. There's really no problem at all in contacting me. We can go through the exam together, and I can tell you exactly why I judged your answer the way I did.